We stand before the great Sphinx of Giza, a creature of stone, half lion, half god, its gaze fixed on eternity. For generations, we've been told it was carved under the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, a monument of the 4th dynasty, raised some 4,500 years ago to guard the pyramids of Giza. It is a story repeated in textbooks and museums, a story that feels complete, polished, and reassuring. The explanation is familiar. Endless lines of workers hauling limestone blocks, ramps stretching across the plateau, copper chisels tapping under the orders of a divine king. It is a tale of human triumph, of a civilization at the height of its power. But what if that story isn't the whole truth? What if the Sphinx is older than Khafre, older than Egypt itself? What if it is a survivor from a forgotten age, when rain fell on a green Sahara, when the desert was alive with lakes, grasslands, and storms? What if it was carved by hands whose names are lost to time, a relic of a civilization we have never known, leaving behind a memory in stone? Close your eyes for a moment and picture the desert at night. The plateau is not barren, but alive. The Sphinx does not stare across sand, but across rivers and grass. Imagine it standing as it once might have, not as a monument for a pharaoh, but as a guardian for something far older. If you want more tips like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Welcome, seekers of the unknown, to a journey into the shadows of the past. Hey, beneath sand and silence, truths wait to be uncovered. We begin with the Sphinx, carved directly from the bedrock of the Giza Plateau. For centuries, the accepted story has been simple. Pharaoh Khafre ordered its creation around 2500 BCE to guard his pyramid. The face, Egyptologists insist, is his own, weathered but recognizable. Yet the Sphinx holds a silence that unsettles even the most confident scholars. Unlike the temples and tombs of Egypt, it bears no inscription, no dedication, no cartouche claiming its creation. A monument of such scale should shout its origin to eternity. Instead, it whispers nothing. Then there is the stone itself. In the early 1990s, geologist Robert Schoch examined the Sphinx enclosure and noticed patterns that changed everything. Vertical channels, smooth corners, and rounded edges carved not by sand and wind but by water, heavy, sustained rainfall. Egypt's desert climate has been dry for at least 5 millennia. To have endured such erosion, the Sphinx would need to date back to a time when the Sahara was green, when monsoons swept across North Africa. That would place it thousands of years earlier than Khafre, perhaps as far back as 7000 BCE. If that is true, the Sphinx predates not just dynastic Egypt, but agriculture as we know it. It would mean some forgotten civilization, carved this guardian long before the pharaohs rose. And if so, who were they? What knowledge did they possess? And why did their story vanish? The temples surrounding the Sphinx add to the enigma. Built from the very blocks quarried from its body, their surfaces lack the same water-worn scars. It's as if the Sphinx stood alone for centuries, enduring storms, before later rulers built temples beside it. In this light, Khafre wasn't the creator, but the inheritor. The Sphinx then becomes not just a monument, but a message from an older world. A world erased, yet stubbornly present in stone. Beside the Sphinx, towering above the plateau, stands the Great Pyramid of Giza, the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing. Officially, it is said to be the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, built around 25 AD BCE with nothing more than copper chisels, wooden sleds, and sheer manpower. Yet when you walk its base, when you study its numbers, the story feels far less simple. The Great Pyramid contains 2.3 million blocks of stone, some weighing over 70 tons, placed with a precision modern engineers struggle to replicate. Its base is level to within 2 centimeters across 230 meters. It is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 0.05 degrees, a feat we'd expect from satellites, not ropes and wooden plumb lines. How could a Bronze Age kingdom achieve such mastery? The pyramid speaks in mathematics. Divide its perimeter by its height, and the result mirrors the value of pi with astonishing accuracy. Its slope encodes the golden ratio, a constant celebrated across art, architecture, and even nature itself. Scale its height by 43,200, and you arrive at the polar radius of Earth. Scale its base perimeter by the same factor, and you approach the planet's equatorial circumference. These are not coincidences. They are deliberate choices, carved into stone, suggesting knowledge of the Earth's dimensions and astronomical cycles long before they were discovered. Inside, the mystery deepens. The so-called King's Chamber resonates with unusual acoustics, as if designed to amplify sound. Narrow shafts align not randomly, but with stars, Orion's belt, Sirius, and the pole star as they appeared thousands of years ago. Such precision demands an understanding of precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, which modern science only recognized in the last few centuries. If this pyramid was merely a tomb, why encode the cosmos in its very geometry? Perhaps it was never meant for a pharaoh at all. Perhaps it was a message in numbers, a stone library, built to endure when languages failed. We are told the Great Pyramid was built as Khufu's eternal resting place. Yet step inside its heart and the story begins to unravel. Unlike the tombs of later pharaohs, no treasures line its corridors, no painted walls guide the soul through the afterlife. The Book of the Dead is absent, as are the jars, statues, and offerings that filled even the smallest noble's grave. What we find instead is silence, chambers of granite and limestone, geometrically perfect, but empty. At the center lies the so-called King's Chamber, housing a single rectangular box carved from granite. Egyptologists call it a sarcophagus, but it is unlike any other in Egypt. It has no lid, no inscriptions, no decoration. It is too plain for a king, too small to hold the nested coffins found in other royal burials. And most tellingly, no body was ever discovered inside. Some argue it was looted in antiquity, yet tomb robbers were never subtle. They left behind broken artifacts, scattered debris, evidence of fire and forced entry. The Great Pyramid shows none of this. The box itself has no marks where a lid might have been pried open. To accept the robbery theory, one must imagine thieves so meticulous they erased every trace, leaving the chamber as pristine as the day it was sealed. Others suggest Khufu was never buried here at all, that the pyramid was symbolic. But this explanation collapses under its own weight. Why build the largest, most precise monument in human history, only to leave it devoid of purpose? The absence of burial evidence transforms the Great Pyramid from a tomb into something else entirely. It feels less like a grave and more like a machine, a structure designed to serve a function we have not yet understood. A function hidden behind silence. In the sands near the Sphinx, a curious slab of limestone was uncovered in the 19th century. Weathered and broken, its hieroglyphs told a story unlike any other. Today, it's known as the inventory stele, and its words quietly unsettle the foundations of Egyptology. According to Orthodox history, Pharaoh Khufu built the Great Pyramid, commissioned the Sphinx's temples, and shaped the plateau into his legacy. Yet the stele tells us something different. It describes Khufu not as the builder of these monuments, but as their restorer. It portrays the pharaoh clearing sand from the Sphinx, repairing temples, and dedicating shrines to gods who already dwelled there. In this version, Khufu arrives at Giza and finds the Sphinx ancient, half-buried, and already sacred. This is a problem. Egypt's pharaohs were anything but humble. They carved their names onto every obelisk, every tomb wall, every statue. Their inscriptions were propaganda etched in stone. For a monument as colossal as the Sphinx or as grand as the Great Pyramid, silence makes no sense. And yet, here is a text suggesting even Khufu acknowledged them as older than his reign. Mainstream scholars dismiss the inventory stele as a later forgery, a product of priests from the 26th dynasty over 1,000 years after Khufu. They claim it was political myth-making, meant to rewrite history for religious ends. But if that were true, why diminish one of Egypt's most celebrated kings? Why reduce him from master builder to caretaker? Propaganda usually glorifies, not belittles, the steely whispers of a forgotten inheritance. Perhaps Khufu did not commission the wonders of Giza but stumbled upon them, already ancient, already mysterious, and sought to bind their power to his name. If so, then Egypt's greatest monuments are not products of the Old Kingdom at all. They are relics, hand-me-downs from a civilization that time has erased. Centuries after Khufu, long after the 4th dynasty had passed, the Sphinx stood in silence once again. By the reign of Thutmose IV, around 1400 BCE, the monument was not revered but neglected, half buried in sand, its colossal body hidden from view. This is not speculation. It is written in stone, on the granite slab placed between the Sphinx's paws, the dream stele. The inscription tells us that Prince Thutmose, not yet king, sought rest in the shadow of the Sphinx after a hunting expedition. As he slept, he dreamed. In that vision, the Sphinx, identified as the god Hohemakit, Horus of the horizon, spoke to him. The buried guardian lamented the sand choking its body, lamented being forgotten, ignored, abandoned. It offered Thutmose a bargain: clear the sand, restore its dignity, and he would be rewarded with the throne of Egypt. The prince accepted. He organized the excavation, revealed the monument's full form, and soon afterward became pharaoh. His success was recorded for eternity on the stele. But what matters most is what it reveals: that the Sphinx, supposedly the pride of Khafre's reign, had already been forgotten within a few centuries. This is deeply strange. The Egyptians were meticulous record keepers. They celebrated their gods, catalogued their kings, and maintained cults for monuments across millennia. How could the Sphinx, if truly carved by Khafre, lose all meaning so quickly? How could priests abandon it, letting sand erase its presence from the sacred landscape? The dream stele suggests the Sphinx was already ancient by Thutmose's time, so old that even the Egyptians themselves no longer remembered its origin or purpose. To them, it was a god half-buried in mystery, demanding restoration, not a monument they had built with pride. What does it mean when even the supposed builders forget their own creation? What lies beneath the Giza plateau may be stranger than what towers above it. For generations, explorers and archaeologists have whispered of tunnels, chambers, and hidden voids carved deep into the bedrock. Some accounts come from Napoleon scholars in the late 18th century, who mapped subterranean passages linking pyramids to temples. Others come from modern surveys using ground-penetrating radar, which reveal hollow spaces the official reports dismiss as natural fissures. Yet the consistency of these findings suggests something more deliberate. One of the most tangible examples is the so-called Osiris shaft, discovered near Khafre's causeway. It descends over 30 meters underground, layer by layer, into a series of chambers. The lowest chamber, accessible only through waterlogged passages, contains niches carved with precision and a granite box often described as a sarcophagus. But, like the king's chamber above, it holds no body, no treasure, no funerary texts. Instead, it sits empty, mute, as though it was built for a function we no longer understand. In the 1990s and 2000s, radar scans beneath the Sphinx revealed anomalies, rectangular void positioned exactly where myths once claimed a hall of records might exist. Theories abound that these hidden rooms could contain scrolls, artifacts, or knowledge from a civilization far older than Egypt. Yet attempts to investigate them further have been consistently blocked. Official statements dismiss the anomalies as cracks in the rock. Excavation permits vanish into silence. Why? If there is nothing beneath Giza, why the secrecy? If these voids are meaningless, why the reluctance to explore them? Some suggest the authorities fear damage to the monuments. Others suspect the truth is more profound, that what lies underground could rewrite human history. Above ground, the pyramids proclaim silence. Below ground, the earth itself seems to whisper secrets. Giza may not only be a monument but an iceberg, with its true mass hidden beneath the sands. In 1993, a small robot named Uport-2, opener of the ways, crept into a narrow shaft inside the Great Pyramid. The shaft, barely 20 centimeters wide, extended upward from what is called the Queen's Chamber. For centuries, no human had seen where it led. The robot's mission was simple: to map it. Yet what it found at the end was anything but ordinary. 60 meters into the shaft, the robot's camera revealed a perfectly cut limestone block. It wasn't rubble or collapse, but a fitted slab, polished smooth, sealed tight. Embedded in it were 2 copper pins, gleaming under the light. They weren't handles. They weren't decorative. They had no obvious function at all. It was, in every sense, a door. The discovery made headlines worldwide. Egyptologists promised further exploration, but instead of answers, silence followed. The project was halted, permits revoked, and the robot's creator was dismissed. For nearly a decade, the door remained untouched, fueling speculation. Was it hiding a chamber, a relic, a secret the pyramid was designed to protect? In 2002, another robot was allowed in. This time, it drilled a tiny hole through the slab and sent a fiber optic camera into the space beyond. Viewers around the world held their breath. What they saw was startling: another chamber, empty, with yet another sealed door beyond it. No inscriptions, no artifacts, just deliberate construction. 2 successive barriers built in a passage too narrow for any human to enter. Since then, little has been revealed. The second door remains unopened. Explanations range from symbolic architecture to ventilation, but neither make sense in a shaft so meticulously designed, so carefully sealed. Why build doors in secret passages unless they were meant to protect something? The pyramid's silence grows louder here. The shafts are too precise to be accidents, the doors too intentional to be meaningless. Whatever they hide remains locked away, as if waiting for a moment when we are finally ready, or allowed, to know. Piece by piece, the story of Giza unravels into something stranger than legend. The Sphinx bears the scars of rains that fell thousands of years before Egypt's first kings. The Great Pyramid encodes pi, the golden ratio, and the dimensions of Earth itself, knowledge supposedly beyond its builders. No body rests within its chambers. Stele hint that Khufu was a restorer, not a creator. Later pharaohs forgot the Sphinx entirely, only to rediscover it in dreams. Beneath the plateau, tunnels stretch into darkness. Inside the pyramid, sealed doors guard unknown secrets. If these anomalies stood alone, they could be dismissed as errors, coincidences, or myths. But together, they weave a different tale, one of inheritance. Perhaps the pharaohs did not build Giza, but claimed it. Perhaps they stumbled upon a sacred landscape already ancient, its true builders erased by time. Who, then, carved the Sphinx? Who designed a monument that could speak through mathematics, through geometry, through alignments with the stars? Some imagine a lost civilization, wiped away by catastrophe at the end of the last ice age. Others whisper of Atlantis, or of knowledge handed down from a source we no longer dare to name. Whatever the origin, the intention feels deliberate, to leave a message that could outlast language, outlast memory itself. The pyramids and the Sphinx may not be monuments to death, but monuments to survival. A time capsule, encoded in stone, designed to endure until we were ready to read it, ready to ask questions that challenge everything we think we know about history. So as the desert night deepens and the stars rise above Giza, consider this. The guardians of the plateau may not be telling us who they were, but reminding us what we've forgotten, and perhaps warning us that what was lost once could be lost again. The pyramids, the Sphinx, the plateau of Giza. We've wandered among them tonight, searching for answers carved in stone. And yet, the closer we look, the more questions we find. Who built these monuments? When? Why? The official story speaks of pharaohs and tombs, ramps and copper chisels. But the stones themselves resist that tale. They whisper of rain that hasn't fallen for 7,000 years. They echo with numbers that measure the earth. They hide sealed doors and forgotten tunnels, chambers we are not permitted to see. Perhaps these monuments are not simply relics of Egypt, but messages from a deeper past. Perhaps the builders knew time would erase their names, so they spoke in a language that could never die: geometry, astronomy, stone. They left their legacy not in words, but in silence. And so the guardians of Giza endure. The Sphinx gazes east, waiting for the dawn. The pyramids align with the stars, as they always have. They do not answer our questions. They only wait for us to ask the right ones. If tonight's journey has stirred your curiosity, remember, history is not as solid as the stone it leaves behind. It shifts, it hides, it resists. The past is not finished. It is still being written. Sleep well, and let the desert's secrets drift through your dreams. Until next time, keep questioning the stories we're told and listen closely to the silence.